the Eagles have a big offseason ahead of them, a very, very big offseason ahead of them. And this is going to be something that they really have to get a hold of because 2 days after the Super Bowl, you lost your offensive defensive coordinator. Shane Steichen is officially hired for the Indianapolis Colts head coach job. And I just got to say, it really sucks. Like, it's like when I talked about, Brian Flores getting hired to the Vikings so much on YouTube for blowing that video up, smashed my Bryant McFadden interview, and I had like 70 subscribers. um, but, I hate to see when a quarterback, or not a quarterback, when a coordinator, like they're doing great, just killing it with the team, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, whatever. Offensive coordinators, I will agree, they should go get head coaching jobs. Defensive coordinators, absolutely not. It's an offensive league. We've seen the downfall of defensive coaches. It shouldn't be a thing. But they have officially lost their offensive and their defensive coordinator. And so Shane Steichen, again, with the Indianapolis Colts, you now have the defensive coordinator, and Jonathan Gannon was officially just hired for the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job as well. So a couple more coaching vacancies there that were filled. So again, you really got to ask the question of what is next for these Philadelphia Eagles. I will say just one thing off the bat. They do need to build around Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a major, major piece on the field for them. Clearly out of Georgia, I love the pick for the Eagles at this point, and I know we've got a Brandon Graham and we've got a Fletcher Cox, and we've got guys out there with those names that we know they're veterans, but we also know that they are advancing and kind of getting older in their careers. And so when you have a young guy like Jordan Davis, and I kind of used to be out on the whole, I kind of used to be on the fence of like, should you surround younger players with veterans, and then should you surround, veterans with younger players? But either way, build around Jordan Davis. You want that defensive line to look like it actually was worth 70 sacks, even though there was no sacks in the Super Bowl and really no pressures on Mahomes. You don't want that schedule to be a reason that the people say that you were frauds this year. You have to build back that, you have to build back up that defensive line. And I'm not saying that Philadelphia is going to be frauds this year. Before the Eagles fans get at me in the comments, I love you, boy, Jalen Hurts. Check me on social, check my episodes. I promise he has been a major topic ever since we have come back. So don't think I'm a hater. Jordan Davis definitely, though, will need to be built around. And then apparently there is talks that they're going to pay Jalen Hurts $50 million. And paying Jalen Hurts $50 million is that's going to be tough for the Eagles because, first of all, I don't believe Jalen Hurts would command that type of money. We've seen the type of leader that he is. We've seen the way that he carries himself. He's been doubted his whole career, and I get it. Oh, hell yeah. Now he definitely freaking deserves it the way he's been doubted. Pay him the most money ever. Throw him the check, let him fill it out and sign it, right? I don't necessarily believe that the Eagles should do that. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, of course, should definitely come together and have some awesome communication about this, because Jalen Hurts would take a hometown discount to keep an A.J. Brown, to sign a Devontae Smith, to get another pass rusher in there to help supplement some of that secondary that, really didn't show up against the Chiefs like we thought they were going to. So Jalen Hurts making $50 million would be great. Hot take, I don't think quarterbacks are worth as much as they're actually paid today. Like Derek Carr, not worth 40. Mahomes at $50 million, like he's probably the only one worth the 50 because of what he's done. But like Aaron Rodgers at 50, the way he's played in the playoffs, I'm not necessarily privy on, pay everybody, give him the bag early no matter what. Does he deserve it? Absolutely. No question about that. But Jalen Hurts getting paid $50 million would be a really damning move, I feel like, considering how young he is in his career. There's no fifth-year option since he was a second-round pick. So, like, they're going to have to make these decisions. Again, he deserves the $50 million because of the way he played in the Super Bowl, but it would behoove the Eagles and would be very smart of them to not pay Jalen Hurts this type of money. Now, you got some starters that are going to be free agents as well, notably Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury. You got TJ Edwards, you got Epps, you got Sanders. Some people are saying that maybe Epps and Sanders are going to be out of town, and, maybe you can move off of a Fletcher Cox because he's 32 years old. And, obviously I feel like they would like to retain Brandon Graham, but nonetheless, again, building around Jordan Davis is going to be major. You don't want that defensive line to look like it was a fluke. And then just kind of brushing up on some things here, you take a look at some of the unrestricted free agents. Again, Bradbury, Cox, TJ Edwards, Marcus Epps, Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Linval Joseph, Jason Kelce, Zach Pascal, Robert Quinn, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Ndamukong Suh, Kaiser White. So these are guys that you at least want to see half of those guys back. I feel like they could lose anywhere from 6 to 7 guys in the offseason, which would be very unfortunate. But this is why after the Super Bowl, I really like to look at the outlook. What are things going to look like? Can they bring back those key players? That's what makes those dynasties clearly that we love to talk about, and respectfully, now that we're seeing it in the Kansas City Chiefs. Excuse me there. Yeah, I mean, you take a look at the fact that a Patrick Peterson could be available next year in free agency, Levante David, Debo and Deion Jones, you got a Jadeveon Clowney, you got a Melvin Ingram, and those could be guys that will take lesser deals to sign because they want to ring chase and get out there in 2023. So, I could say that that's going to be something that the Eagles could really look into. So, realistically, when it comes to the draft as well, talking about what's next for these Philadelphia Eagles here on the NFL with AJL episode 4, we're live. Don't forget, you can call into the show, 678-480-8716. Let me check the chat. I'm glad he made a huge jump in his second season in general. Me too. Jalen Hurts is that dude. Do you think the Eagles pay CJ Gardner-Johnson? Yeah. He was tied in the league for 6 interceptions. I mean, he's a hard hitter. He's a smack talker. He is very smart. He's a big contributor. So I definitely think that they'll pay him, Darby. I hate to see it. My cousin Alan, Titans fan, watching A.J. Brown really become his best version in Philadelphia. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson obviously played himself into such a tradable asset because he played so well coming out of Florida. He was one of my favorite players. But, yeah, I think they will definitely pay Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, when you take a look at the draft here, like I was mentioning on what's next for these Philadelphia Eagles, Joey Porter Jr. out of Clemson could be great. You got the defensive lineman and Brian Bresee, not really sure how you pronounce that there. And they've even got Nolan Smith out of Georgia who could be a good, piece. So just talking about some of that secondary, some of those defensive lines. And again, I know I keep mentioning Jordan Davis, but he was a great pick when they took him. And obviously, I'm a Georgia fan. Y'all see the stuff in the background. Clearly love what Jordan Davis did. So that could be a great way to obviously build around him. So I would say the biggest thing that's next for these Eagles is control the payday for Jalen Hurts. You got to bring back, obviously, Jason Kelce. I think Brandon Graham would maybe be more ideal than Fletcher Cox. I think Gardner-Johnson, Bradbury are definitely some must-haves that you got to bring back. You got to go out there and search for an OC. I'll probably have that in an upcoming episode of, best OCs for the Eagles to go grab. Defensive coordinator as well. So, I mean, they cleaned house in some big positions, not even cleaned house, but free agents coming up, coordinators, got to make sure you build on that D-line. You really got an offseason to address here. And I know the Eagles can do it, but it's going to be major for them.